welcome to the Mind Chimp podcast. Hey Mirjam, welcome to the Mind Chimp podcast. How are we doing?
Hey Danny, things are good. How are you?
I'm wonderfully well. I don't even know what day it is because of COVID. It's like Christmas, right? You forget what day you're on and a date, but the sun's shining, so that's all that matters.
That's interesting because I woke up this morning and I thought it was a weekend, and then I realized it was only Tuesday.
So how are you anyway? How are you in the kind of COVID times? Are you doing well and stuff as well as can be?
So yeah, I mean, my life hasn't changed that much because I always worked from home, so that's still the same. Of course, my whole family is at home now as well, which is the difference. There's a lot of distractions, so it's a bit harder to focus. But yeah, no, we can still go outside and the weather has been nice, so relatively lucky.
Okay.
Although I still like to complain sometimes about it.
Fair enough. Okay, Miri, so what I need you to do for me, so as most episodes go, I ask you two key questions at the start. So first thing I need you to do is pick 6 numbers from 1 to 100.
Okay. 5, 16, 72, 93, and 99.
Perfect.
Oh, that was only 5, right?
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, one more.
45.
45. Perfect. We will come back to that later on. So, maybe I tend to ask my guests when they come on the show, what's their logline, their summary of who they are? Do you know what yours is?
I would say maybe it's a bit pretentious, but anyway, I'll go with it. I think I'm a critical learner, always asking why.
Oh, nice. Okay. I'm sure we will come back to that, or we'll figure out why it is your logline. So, Mary, me and you are kind of, we're friends. We talk, we have Skypes here and there, and well, I like to think we're friends anyway. But
sure.
Yes, thank the Lord you said that. It could have been very awkward. But obviously, some of the people on my show might not know who you are, so maybe you could give us a bit of a heads up onto who you are and what your career's been like. So from where you come from to where you are right now, I guess.
Okay, so I was born in the Netherlands, and my career started there as a speech therapist, working with children with neurological problems. And after 5 years or so, I quit. I moved to Mexico and I started studying learning sciences. So I did that through an online university in the Netherlands called the Open University. And so I could do everything online. And I did some projects like, on the ground in Mexico. And then I moved to Seattle. So I continued to study and completed, a couple of internships in instructional design, and slowly moved towards more like senior roles, more strategic roles, then moved to Dublin. And now this is my 5th job since I moved to Dublin.
Wow.
So, yeah, I've been here. I started with a couple of contracts first when I first moved here. So now I'm with Accenture. I'm a learning experience design lead, which means that I basically lead like the front end design processes for internal clients. I am usually involved early days. So even when we don't know yet what the problem is that we're trying to solve sometimes, which I like, because then, you can at least think through like the whole what's the problem? Are we solving the right problem? Are we solving the problem the right way kind of things? And then when we've determined what part of the problem needs a learning solution, I work with various teams in Accenture to, I usually design like the overall framework and then work with the teams to, develop it out and deliver it. whatever that means. It can mean many different things. But I consider myself almost as what's the word? I feel that I'm responsible to make sure that whatever we design is aligned with what we're trying to achieve, which might sound like the obvious, but it's really difficult because in the process, people come up with all kinds of ideas, or they have ideas around, oh, here's an interesting piece of content that we can use as well, or oh, we can play this game, or I've heard about this really interesting tool. So you have to be really like on the ball, like, okay, stop. This is what we're trying to achieve. So I see myself as responsible for the whole design integrity of the experience.
Cool. And that's actually a really important part, that thing what you talk about, kind of, I call it magpie syndrome. Like, ooh, shiny, new, must be the best thing.
I am not suffering from that one. Some people are, but I'm not one of them.
But I think that's so. I think it's key. A lot of the clients which I work with, it's a case of a lot of the time it's me going in there and trying to stop that and put the brakes on it. Shine is good if it fixes the actual problem, but actually, how much have you stress test that problem? And actually, is that the problem? Is that the downstream or the upstream problem? Like, there's so much to think about on it. It is an important role. It's definitely an important role. So, out of all the places you've lived, which one's been your favorite so far?
Ooh, that's a difficult one. I really, really enjoyed living in Mexico. That was kind of because it was such a, there was no worries. Like, it was all like we could just live it day by day, and with like nice lunches in the sun, and it was all great. But now I don't know. I also liked, I like different places for different reasons, I'd say.
Okay. I'll let you swerve that one, Mirjam. I'll let you swerve that one. Mexico's one of them places where I want to go, but I think it's a hit and miss on which part I want to go and why. I always picture, like you say, the nice live by day and have a drinks and Mexican food. But yeah, it's still on my list. It's on my list for sure.
Mexico.
So, it's for life. It's a life. So yeah. I want to jump into your book, but before we go there, I want to understand, sometimes when we get interviewed on, for jobs and whatever else, we get asked, what's the best, tell me everything good about you and all the best things. And I think, actually, sometimes the question we should be asking is, what does your failure resume look like? Because I think we can learn more from failure. So if I could ask you now, Mirjam, what does your failure resume look like? What one jumps out? And that can be as early in your career or as new as your career. What's one what jumps out to you?
How concrete does it have to be? Because I have a generic one that I think requires continuous work, which is that I'm really direct, and so sometimes I'm a bit confrontational, and that is something that I have to be really aware of, and kind of figure out who can deal with that and who can't.
Okay, that's good.
I think things need to be said, and I have to learn that you don't always have to say it. You can sometimes decide to not say it.
Yes, sometimes the best left unsaid is the best thing, right? I guess.
Right.
Cool. Okay. Well, I guess obviously we know what your failure resume looks like. What's the most your biggest personal success recently?
Well, so I mean, the book is quite of like an obvious answer, I think, because I do feel, it just takes a lot of effort, and I do feel that's an accomplishment. So I consider that a success, as in, the completion of it. But actually, also in the current situation, I just adapting to all the change without. I mean, I'm not saying I find it easy, but I think I'm successful in accepting that it is what it is at the moment, which is for my personality, because I like to have control, quite difficult. So I consider that a success personally.
Okay. Okay. Out of interest, when you was in school and the teacher would say, Mirjam, what do you want to be when you grow up? What did you want to be when you was younger?
I wanted to be a singer. And it's really funny because I'm a really bad singer, so I have no idea. Well, I guess I liked to be on stage when I was a child, so I think that was appealing to me. But yeah, that's what I wanted to be.
Maybe next time when we're at a conference and we have a few beers, and maybe hear that beautiful voice of yours.
No, don't go there.
So kind of where did this this desire come from to write this book? Like where did that come from? So, I get some people love the idea of writing and doing blogs and stuff. But actually, why did you decide to write the book anyway? Where did that come
from? Well, so it's in along the same lines of why I'm writing my blog. Like what I'm trying to do together with Paul Kirschner is drive change in the learning and education field. And to me, that's really important because I think learning is important, for many different reasons. And I just feel that we need to mature. And I think that's critical. And I just felt that if we could write it in a book format where we have, the good stuff that we already kind of had through our blog, but then really focused on workplace learning because, there's a lot of change needed there, if you ask me, with like a lot of concrete examples. The hope was that we could contribute a bit more towards driving that change.
Okay. And it's just hit me that we haven't even named the book. So rather than me do it, Mirjam, could you tell us what the name of your book is?
The name of the book is Evidence-Informed Learning Design.
Perfect. Thank you. So that title, Evidence-Informed, Learning Design, where did that come from? Kind of, is that something you've took in your day-to-day job and it's something you've done in your career, just actually underpinning things with evidence? Like where did that come from?
Yeah, it actually is based on what we do on our blog, because that's about evidence-informed learning design, because that's basically what we do. And although we acknowledge that, evidence-informed means different things, right? It's not just the scientific evidence, it's also your own expertise and the learner needs. And, we can have other types of data as well, but we focus on the scientific part of it.
Okay. So obviously we're in the learning world, right? That's what we do. But actually, what did you learn what did you learn in the process of writing this book?
Learned that writing is really hard. For different reasons. For me personally, it's hard because the more I learn, the more I feel that I don't know enough. So it's really hard to stop at some point and accept that it's good enough for what you're trying to get across. So that's one part of it. I've also learned that I think it's important to find some structure and really find focus time, because if you can't focus, you can't write. Like you have to have space in your head and, focus, and otherwise you're not going to get it done, I think. Also, I've learned that you have to be open to criticism, because I think when you start writing, you're kind of stuck in your own bubble and your own thought process. So you kind of need to accept at some point that people are going to say, so what? I had a colleague actually who has reviewed the book, and she was very good at saying, okay, so what? Like, why do I need to care about this? And that's really good, because, you're so stuck in, at least I am, okay, this is important. And then somebody asking you, okay, so why is it so important? That helps to take a step back and say, yeah, actually, why is this so important? And then you're forced to explain it in a different way. So yeah, that's what I've learned. And also, I think that using authentic examples is really critical to get across what you're trying to get across, like make it practical.
Okay.
That sounds like the obvious as well, but
But
when you talk about research and trying to translate it, then making an extra step and really make it practical is not easy sometimes.
I was just going to say that sometimes that is the hardest step, right? Is making it so it to some extent you want it to be so in your face that you can't miss it, and sometimes that is by making it tangible and practical. But just going back to kind of the first thing which you mentioned, and it led me to two questions really. What was your schedule like at writing? Was it kind of, did you have like certain hours set to one side, or was it just when you felt inspired, or how was that?
No, it was not when I felt inspired. No, I have like very busy family life on top of a full-time job, so I had to negotiate with my husband when I could get a block of time to work. So I had like half day blocks on the weekend and then a couple of evenings to write. So about, I'd say 8 to 12 hours a week.
Right. Oof. I mean, yeah. So it's an interesting one. So I don't, I have my partner and my dog. That's my life. And I'm in the process of writing something. But another question which kind of jumped out to me when I just listened to it, and what emotionally, how hard was it? So when I'm writing now, I'm writing stuff and I'm going, that's a load of crap. I start again. And sometimes I need my partner to go, no, that's really good. You're just being too critical. Like, what was your emotional? Like, I'm kind of assuming that it had really high peaks and dips and stuff. What was that like?
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things to that. Like sometimes I thought I wrote something really good, and then Paul kind of killed it, because he's really critical. It was like, this is a bunch of rubbish. Like, but yeah, I mean that's not nice, right? So then you get like a dip. But then of course, I mean he's really nice, so he would be able to like lift me up again and try again. So, but I think that's how it goes. You try something, you get critical feedback, you get a dip, you kind of find a way to lift yourself up or ask for help for somebody to help you to help lift you up again, and then you try again until you get it right. And the other part that I found difficult is sometimes you're kind of fed up with your own writing and you're like, oh, yeah, here I am again with the same. I don't know. It's just kind of like, yeah, you're so immersed in the content that at some point you're kind of, okay, can we just stop?
Yeah.
Like, are we done now? So I think that's another part of it, like to just, be enthusiastic and keep going. That's not always easy.
Yeah, no, I can imagine. So obviously, you mentioned you was doing this with Paul and stuff. What's been the best and the worst bit about writing this book, I guess?
Well, for me, like one of the best parts is that I was able to write it with him, because he is just so knowledgeable, and he just has like such deep knowledge. So it really helped me to find the focus and narrow things down, because sometimes when you know a little bit but not enough, you have a tendency to kind of like ramble on about something. But because he knows way more than I do, he was able to help me to kind of like ask a couple of questions to help me narrow it down. And sometimes also the other way around happened, where I thought it wasn't very good, and then he was like, oh, this is actually really clear or whatever. So that was good as well. But to me, like the process is something as well that that was just one of the best. As in, I see it as a whole opportunity for professional development, because I think writing itself really helps to process information in a really deep manner. So you just learn a lot yourself about, when writing about something, which is also one of the reasons I have a blog. Worst, finding the time, feeling guilty, not spending enough time with my family. Yeah, there's always more research to be done. So that's what goes back what I was saying earlier. Like, you feel like, okay, but I need to know even more about this. I don't know enough. So that I found that really difficult to stop and think, say, okay, this is good enough. It is enough.
And I think that seems like that's where the struggle comes from, right? Like, what realizing when enough is enough. And I don't know, like I've struggled with that a little bit myself at the moment, where it's like, right, you've explained this enough. You don't need to show lots and lots and lots of research. 1 or 2 pieces of links and whatever is enough research. So it's good to hear that you struggled as well, which is weird to say.
I think everybody who writes struggles.
So if my listeners were kind of listening now, and they ask you what one chapter should they read out of your book, and only one, just to make it extra hard, what chapter would you tell them to read out your book?
So I would go with something a bit more practical, I think, to kind of seduce people to read the whole book, because I think most people prefer something that they can apply. So there is, in the 4th part of the book, there is it's called Find Focus, and that's about evidence-informed tools and techniques and ingredients. And I think the ingredients, that's chapter 10, they're about so they're about the how am I going to say this? So you have like the tools, techniques, and ingredients, and the techniques are more like the types of questions or tasks or prompts or whatever, but the ingredients are like one layer deeper. And anyway, long story short, in that chapter, with the ingredients, we discuss worked examples. And to me, that is one of the most underutilized and misunderstood ingredients in workplace learning. So I would recommend to read that piece.
Okay. So I guess kind of, touching upon kind of them tools, techniques, and ingredients, I think, is that the bit where it talks about kind of efficient and effective and stuff? Is that where it covers that?
No, that's throughout the whole book. So that's about the whole learning experience. So what we're saying overall is that, when you design learning experiences, you need to try to make them effective, efficient, and enjoyable. And when we say enjoyable, we don't mean like fun. We mean help people to achieve something so that they experience success.
Okay.
So that's something different. No, the worked out examples are about, when we think about solving problems, then what you need to do for novice learners, meaning people who are novice to completing a task. So it's not about domain knowledge necessarily. It's not about how experienced you are in your job. It's more, if you're new to a certain task, then you're a novice learner for that specific task. And worked out examples focus not just on the what, but also on the how and the why.
Okay.
So it helps to abstract the information so that people can start to learn how and why you would solve a problem a certain way. And that just helps to transfer it to various situations.
Okay, so kind of picking up on that why. So right at the start of the show, I asked you your tagline, And part of that tagline was why. So kind of, yeah, break down your tagline. Tell me why you picked that one.
Well, I am very critical by nature. So I some people might say I'm negative. I don't think I'm negative, but I have a tendency to see what can be improved before I am enthusiastic about something. So when I say critical learner is I always try to learn new things. I'm not afraid to try things that I don't know a lot about. I think I have proven throughout my career that I constantly learn new things. So the critical goes to I don't just believe what I see. I always challenge. And part of that challenging is asking why. And I've had this since I was a child. I always ask. I know it's normal for a certain age to ask why constantly, but for me, I've never grown out of it.
Brilliant. But it's an interesting one with the why, because sometimes, you know, there's simple techniques in like the 5 whys, which you probably used in your career, you know, to get to kind of root cause. But it's interesting how that question why is often overlooked, like, and especially in things which are, you know, legacy and very hierarchical, like, and I kind of always there's a story from I think it was a hospital study. They use it as a hospital example, and you're sat on the side of a beach, a river, and you and your friend are having a picnic, and then to the side of the picnic there's a child getting rushed downstream screaming for help. So you run in and you get this child out and you throw him to the side to save a life, and as you get back out another child comes down, so you run back in, do it, and again and again and again, and then as you're really, really tired saving all these children, your mate, your partner, whoever jumps out, and you say to them, where are you going? There's many children to be found, to be saved. And they turn around and going, I'm going upstream to find out who's throwing these kids in the river. And I think we sometimes stop. We never really go, actually, what's this route? And I think why is a great question to get there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I think especially in what you were saying earlier is true, like in especially in organizations, I think people tend to kind of follow the crowd instead of challenging, like, you know, is this really the best way to do things, and why are we doing it this way?
Yeah. But I think part of that is because of friction of going against the crowd, right? It's easier to go with the crowd. It's so much easier, right? It's harder to swim against that tide. And that's why I always appreciate people who go against the, you know, the crowd or what the common take on things is. And sometimes it's so extreme, you're like, oof, you know, but then.
Yeah, but it's also the other way around sometimes, because I am so critical. I tend to, well, I don't know if this is a logical relationship anyway, but I have a tendency sometimes to jump to conclusions as well, as in, oh, why are they doing it this way? I don't think that's the right way of doing it. So then when you ask why, sometimes you're surprised because they might have really good reasons to do it in a certain way and you just have overlooked it.
Yeah.
So that's why it's always also good to ask why, just to challenge your own assumptions.
But I think it's really good. I think you're a great example of this why. So I remember we had a call probably last year, and we were talking about experience design and what my take on it is. And it was a great conversation. We had a cup of tea, a coffee or whatever it was, and, you know, we did it over Skype. And it was interesting because I didn't see any assumptions being made by you then. You just did, you know, okay, walk me through that. Why? Why is it this way and not this way? And I remember I got off the call, I was like, that could have gone a totally different way. You know, obviously that could have gone a way of, your ideas are crap and they don't make sense and whatever else. But you didn't do that. You got on and we just had a really good conversation. So it's interesting because...
Yeah, well, if I put in some effort, it can be pretty nice.
I'm glad I'm in that category. So kind of talking about books. What if you had to give a gift of a book to 5 people? What you think everybody should read? And it doesn't have to be a workbook, a non-work book. What book would you give?
That is a really difficult question. I'm just looking behind me because I have my books here. So there is a book, but that's not translated in English. But anyway, it is a really good book. It was actually 2 books. It's a diary by a Dutch author called Hanni Michaelis, and it's her diary during the Second World War. And it's really hard to explain why it is so good, but it's mostly good because of the way she thinks. She's just a really original way of she's very perceptive and very mature in her thinking for her age. I don't know. It was just really beautiful. So if it would be available in English, I would give it to everybody.
Okay. I will. I'll put it in the show notes, and then if people can read it, they can go and grab that. But I think sometimes when we talk about kind of, we talked about making things tangible and practical. I want to see how practical you can be. So, in a way, anyway. So, if I was to ask you, explain what you do to a 5-year-old, how would you explain that to them?
I would say that I know quite a lot about how people learn, and that I work in organizations or workplaces where people need to learn things, to be able to do their job. And I help them do that the best way they can.
Okay. I like that. It's good going. So these questions are kind of, they can be rapid fire, or you can jump into them however deep you want to go back. If I was to ask you this question, tell me where your mind goes.
Hey, sorry we interrupted your podcast, but we just wanted to let you know about Venderly, where finding learning has developed. At Venderly, we understand the pain points of looking for reliable vendors and securing new clients. We've created a platform to help you with this, save you time, and help you flourish. We want you to be the first to see it, so head over to venderly.co.uk and take a peek. That's Venderly with a double N.
What's L&D's problem?
Oh, we focus on the wrong things.
Oh, okay. That's smooth. That's fast. What would be if you had a stadium of 1 million people, okay, and they're gonna come out of that stadium and we're going to see a big billboard, yeah, and that you can put any message you want on that billboard to change 1 million people's minds. What would your message be?
Jeepers, Danny. Kind of something along the lines of know what you know and know what you don't know.
Okay. So break that down a little bit. That's intriguing.
I know that I feel that people sometimes, and this might be my critical side, but I feel that people are very easily think that they know what they're talking about in general. And I'm always surprised by that, because when I look at myself, I feel the other way around. I feel like I know nothing or very little about most things. And I know a little about a couple of things. And I think that, if you look at social media and stuff, the way that people express their opinions, and I'm not saying that, because a lot of people would say that I'm opinionated as well, which I am to a certain extent, but not necessarily about things that I don't know anything about. Like, I wouldn't go, off about politics or something just because I don't know that much about it. It's not that I don't have opinions, and I would share them with my friends, but I wouldn't go on a rant about, I don't know.
Okay. So that leads me
yeah.
on to my next question very smoothly. It's like we planned that one. So what's your take on social media? Is it a net positive or a net negative?
No, for me, it is in the end a net positive. I think as long as you filter enough and focus on the right people, because I mean, social media has brought me a lot of opportunities in the way that, I am connected with really, really great people there, smart people who know a lot about things that I know less about. So to me, that is my personal learning network. So net, for me, in the end, it's a positive.
Okay. So who's the 3 people you would recommend? In fact, let's do it this way. Who's the 3 people you would recommend everybody should follow in the learning space? And who's 2 people you recommend people should follow in whatever space? So 5 people all in all. This is hard, right? It's hard to try and filter it down.
It's really hard because it really depends. I almost have to open up my Twitter account. It's interesting because there's one person that comes to mind, and I don't even know what her Twitter handle is. Her name is Charlotte, and she just has very, I don't know, almost an original way of thinking, which is very authentic, and asks really good questions. So I learn a lot from her. But sometimes it's a bit silly because I don't know her Twitter handle, but it's okay. Who else? Gee, there's so many good people. I really don't know. Can I ask for like a rain check?
Okay, let's rain check on that one. You can have a think, and then if you send me over, I can tag them in the show notes anyway. So for people who are, in fact, I want to test your music out actually, which is a bizarre one. What would so let's picture this. It's a beautiful day. All is well with the world. Sun is shining. There's not a cloud in the sky. You woke up nice and fresh. Everything's going well. What's a 3 tracks you play throughout that day? So maybe the track on the way to work, the track on your dinner, and then the track on the way home. What songs would they be?
A really good day. Well, I like. Okay, I'm kind of giving myself away here, but I really like "Rumors" by Fleetwood Mac, so it would be a track of that album.
Okay. Okay.
He's laughing at me. I love that album. I was just listening today to Kung Fu Fighter, which I really, really enjoy.
Okay.
And then the last one would be Daft Punk, One More Time.
There we go. My faith was going slowly but surely, Mirjam, and you just pulled it up at the end. So I guess kind of, getting close to the end here, just being mindful of time. But for anyone who's new into L&D, or maybe they're new and it's, the first year, what 3 or 4, what tips, and this can be 3, 5, however many you want, but what tips would you recommend someone coming into our industry?
I would just really assuming that this person is not, formally educated, because most people in the learning profession aren't. Well, they are formally educated, but not in the learning sciences space or instructional design space. I would recommend to really, follow people, learn from people who do their due diligence and do a lot of reading into the research. And that can be, wide, wherever your preference is. It could be more into behavioral sciences or training sciences, but know kind of like go look for the giants. Like, what are the things that are really grounded in research, and what are the things we know are effective? And also, don't jump on those bandwagons. Like, just don't drink the Kool-Aid. Move away from the shiny object stuff. And just like really keep learning yourself, because honestly, I think a lot of learning people could do better.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, right? That we're in a learning space, and there's many of us who don't continually learn and don't. Like, I have so many blind spots in my game. It's untrue, and it's hard because you show vulnerability by saying that. And I think you alluded to this earlier, Mirjam. Like, being able to say I don't know is, but then there's a difference between the people who don't know and strive to find out, and the people who stick their head in the sand and hope for the best. And I think
the worst are the people who pretend they do know.
That's true. That's true. That is very true. Indeed. So I guess, right at the start, near the start of the show, I asked you, what did you want to be when you was a young girl? And obviously, Mirjam, you know as I do that we never really stop growing up. So if I was to say to you now, Mirjam, what do you want to be now when you grow up? What would you say?
Well, I am in the right field. I think I would like to be in a place where I'm working with a group of people who really try to do the same things as I do, with like critical people, right? Not people who come into my bubble and we all believe the same things, but people who want to achieve the same thing, which is maturing the profession. So I am in the right profession. If I would need to do something else, I would just like to retire and just read books.
That sounds like heaven. So before we get into the last couple of questions, where can people get hold of your book? Where can we go to buy that book?
So you can either go to the Kogan Page website, they're the publisher, but it's also available on Amazon and any, website that sells books.
Okay. And I'll put the link in the show notes as well so people can buy that. Right at the start of the show, I asked you to pick 6 numbers. These 6 numbers tally to 6 random items on my list. And the task here, Mirjam, is you're on a desert island and you've found these 6 items, okay? I need you to tell me what you're going to do with them. So, your 6 items are some nail clippers, a shovel, a button.
Do I need to memorize
you can
this?
write them down if you want. I'll let you quickly write them down.
Nail clipper, or the old shovel?
A button. Yeah.
A button. Okay.
Some sandpaper. And a piece of card. Yeah,
card?
Like paper and cardboard. Yeah.
Okay. What am I going to do with them? So I'm on a desert island. So I'm going to use these items to survive there.
Okay. So,
I don't know. I'm asking.
If you want it, the choice is yours. You can either survive or do whatever you want with them.
It's funny. I had a similar activity a while ago, like an icebreaker, energized kind of thing, and we just opted for the wine and just drink wine until we died. So I actually prefer that approach. I have no idea, Danny. Well, the nail clipper is just handy to clip nails. Okay. I am going to use sandpaper to. I'm just gonna do it to kind of like keep myself occupied. So I'm gonna sand like branches or whatever and make them like really smooth. And then I'm going to use the shovel to just dig a nice deep hole, so that I can die. And I just I'll put the button on my forehead so that when I die, like, and people will find me later, they would wonder what that button is
Oh,
doing
I
there.
like that.
The cars, I don't know. I will just throw it away. I have no idea.
Okay. Good skills. So, maybe where can people find you? Where can we go to find you?
So my Twitter handle is Mirjam N. So it spells Mirjam and then N as in Nancy. And on LinkedIn, of course, just use my name, Mirjam Neelen.
Perfect. Again, I'll put all them in the show notes.
And just maybe the blog is nice to mention as well. It's 3-star learning experiences.wordpress.com.
Perfect. Well, Mirjam, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks for challenging me, man. Those were hard.
It means that you can go and drink some wine now, though. You know, job done.
What day was it again? It's weekend, right?
Weekend. Cheers, Mirjam.
Thanks so much.